Hello, my name is Cornell Green, and I am the Failure Guy. Welcome to the podcast. On this episode of the Failure Guy podcast, my guest is Carlos Silva. Carlos, thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to the conversation.
Cornell, thank you very much for the invitation. I really appreciate that. I think we are going to have some minutes to speak about my experience. And especially, I hope that my story is going to inspire some people. Thank you very much again.
I am sure that your story will be quite fascinating. Now, as the folks out there in podcast land know, I do not do pre-interviews with my guests, and that is on purpose, so that it is as much a discovery for me as it is for them listening out there in the podcast world. Now, I did have a bit of a background because I have the form that I have you fill out, and I did see the information I did see is absolutely fascinating to me. I am so looking forward to this conversation. And so, first of all, I always start. Introduce yourself, tell people who you are, and actually how you came to be a guest on the Failure Guy podcast.
Well, I am an immigrant, like most of the people living in this country. I believe that the original people are or Native Americans, you know, the Jews, etc., and many Mexican Americans that were, in my case, in California and all the states, that the border crossed them. They didn't cross the border. So I am an immigrant. I'm very proud of that. I was born and raised in Guatemala City in Central America, long time ago. And I came to live in the States in 2006. Okay. So then please ask me whatever you want me to tell you, and I'd be more than happy to share with you my inspired story.
Okay, so how did you end up here as a guest on our podcast?
Well, my work career started back in Guatemala a long time ago. I worked for almost 10 years on the airline industry at the airport in Guatemala. And eventually I became a flight dispatcher.
Mm.
And then after 10 years of working on the airline industry, I switched career. I went into the ocean business. I started working on a steamship line and dealing with, ocean freight. And then start my experience in Guatemala. And then I had the opportunity to move to another country. This time was to El Salvador, which happens to be next to Guatemala. Somehow, I always felt that El Salvador was calling me, calling me. Eventually, when I had the opportunity back in 1985 to go to El Salvador, I didn't hesitate. I immediately accepted because somehow I had the need to live there. This was happening in the middle of the Civil War that was happening in El Salvador. Of course, in Guatemala, we also were living a civil war. But in Guatemala was a little different because the Civil War was happening mostly out of the capital of the Guatemala City. So we just were aware of the things that were happening watching the TV. In El Salvador was totally different. El Salvador is a smaller country. And sometimes at night you can hear the bombarding of the Air Force on the mountains. And it was very, it was more real what is happening with the Civil War. But I didn't care that. So I went there and set it up myself. And I started a journey in El Salvador.
Okay.
Basically, there I had the opportunity to start my entrepreneurial life.
Okay.
And I had the opportunity to start my own company. At that time, the term startup didn't exist, let's say it that way. And also, when I started my company, I didn't knew that I was offering a solution to a problem. I just thought that when a very good friend of mine that he was living in Miami, Florida, came to El Salvador to ask me if I would be interested in becoming independent. And we were talking, I recall, in a little terrace I have at home. And when he was explaining me what are we going to do, I asked him, "Are we really going to make money with this?" And he says, "Of course we are." Eventually, that happens. So, at those times, at the end of the 80s, internet was not existence, at least
Right.
not in the way that
Right.
we
Not
know
the
it right
web.
now.
Yes, the web didn't exist. Yeah.
Correct. Not the web as we everybody knows it these days. So we were on the business of now has a name, logistics and multimodal transportation. We were
Okay.
moving cargo from the United States to El Salvador, import and export,
Okay.
via ocean and via air. And
Mm.
I start, thinking how to start something different, something totally brand new for the audience that we have at that time in El Salvador. So somehow I came with the idea to develop a tracking system. These
Mm.
days, whoever buys something online, at a click of a mouse, you know where your shipment is at.
Right. Right.
You,
I'm an
you,
Amazon
know,
junkie, so I know exactly what you're talking
you
about.
know exactly. Okay. I will give you something that Amazon is still not doing. So, on those years, the pinnacle of the communication was the fax machine. You remember that,
Yes.
right?
Oh my goodness. Yes.
Still, many, especially doctors, I don't know why they still use the fax. I don't know why is that. But
I don't
anyway,
know.
so in those times, the fax was the pinnacle of communication. So I developed a system when every time I move a shipment from Miami, Florida to San Salvador, El Salvador, I send depending on the situation, between 7 and 11 faxes to my customer. Each
Mm.
fax was telling them a step where their shipment was.
Right. Right.
That made my company very successful because my competition was not doing that.
Right.
On those times, importers knew that they placed an order with the provider in the United States, and then they didn't know
Hold your
nothing.
breath.
Yeah. All of a sudden, the shipment appears at destination. They didn't have the taxes and duties ready to pay, etc., etc., etc. So
Right.
somehow, when the time passed by, we become very successful.
Okay.
The company that I was working at that time was a small company here in the United States, but they have two pretty big customers in the United States. One was Walmart,
Oh.
and the other one was Target. Yeah,
Oh my gosh. Only two
the,
of the
the,
largest big box stores in the world.
correct, correct. So the company here in the United States was handling the shipments from all over the world. I became part of them because when Walmart told them at the end of the 80s, "Hey guys, listen, I'm going to start buying goods from Central America. So I need you to open offices on each of those countries because
Wow.
we are going to be doing a lot." That's how I became a part of them. So eventually, we opened offices in Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and we start working. In my case, of course, we have what we call northbound shipments from El Salvador to the States, and we
Right.
have southbound shipments from the United States to El Salvador.
Right.
We were very successful. At what time we were handling shipments for, of course, for Walmart, Target, J.C. Penney, Sears. Oh
Wow.
my God, we were at least Claiborne, etc., etc. And on the northbound direction, on the southbound direction, we were handling Caterpillar, Toyota
Mm.
dealer, and etc., etc. So we were very, very successful. I started my company with 0 employees. I was
Mm.
the first one. And when we shut down the operation, we have about 45 people working in the
Wow.
company.
Wow. Okay. That's
Eventually,
pretty
we
impressive.
developed a service door to door. You know,
Mm.
we were taking care of the shipments from the door from the provider to the door of the recipient.
Okay.
So that includes, more logistics, the customs clearance, etc., etc., etc. And on those times, at the end of the 90s, steamship lines, on those times, there is one of the biggest steamship lines called Maersk.
Okay.
They were the steamship lines were moving cargo only port to port, okay, and companies like us were doing the movements door to door.
Right.
So somehow they realized that there was a lot of money in between the
Mm.
movements from the warehouse of origin to the port, and from
From
the
the
port of
port.
destination to the okay. So
Right.
somehow Merckx noticed that they must enter the logistics
Right.
business, not just transporting the goods from port A to port B.
Right.
So they create a division called Merckx Logistics.
Huh.
The biggest steamship land of the world, the first thing that they did was to visit the biggest customer, Walmart. Okay,
Wow.
so they approached Walmart and start, convincing Walmart to move the cargo through them. And Walmart was very smart. They told you, oh, you want my cargo? It's very easy. All you have to do is buy DSL. That was the name of the company I was working with,
Okay.
DSL. And that's what happened. You know,
Okay.
eventually Walmart is, I don't know what are they doing right now, if they are still handling the shipments. But anyway, they started the process, and then the new owners came with different ideas. So I have no other option but all of the sudden
Right.
close the operation of the company in El Salvador. Well,
Okay.
I said, I told my wife, don't worry. I think I'm going to figure out what else I can do. But I was already old. So in our countries, unfortunately, because of the situation that we have been through, civil wars, political situation, instability, etc., 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 uh, opportunities over there are very limited.
Mm-hmm.
And back in 1997, I started living one of my worst tragedies of my life. I'm sorry.
No, no, no. It's okay.
At that time, my younger son, he was a 3 years old boy. And one day, we ended in the hospital because he got sick.
Mm.
When we discovered what was going on was that was in a surgery we had to have for him in emergency, and they discovered a huge tumor in his liver. Very initial thing. So after the surgery, which basically consists on the tumor explodes and he started bleeding inside. So the surgeons at that time, the only thing that they could do was to stop the bleeding, close, and then they tell us, well, nothing else we can do here. So his pediatrician told us, listen, guys, the treatments here in El Salvador are very, very tough. The conditions are terrible. If you have the resources, take him to the United States,
Mm.
and
Mm.
he has
Okay.
more opportunities over there. So that's what we did. We start, trying to figure out how to do it, etc., etc. I used to come to Miami very often, so we were
Right.
familiar with the area. So we ended bringing him to the Miami Children's Hospital in Miami, basically because the short distance between Miami and San Salvador is 2 hours, 20 minutes of flight.
Okay.
And because we discovered that the director of the oncology of the Miami Children's Hospital was a doctor from El Salvador. So, we were
Wow.
okay.
Wow.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
coincidence. And so we bring him there. And, well, the first day, hundreds of exams. And like a week later, after we arrived there, we have a meeting with all the doctors from the oncology department. And they told us that the type of cancer that my son has, his name was Paolo, was very rare on kids. Even there was not a protocol to treat that type of cancer. There is no protocol because there are no cases of this. At that time, it seemed that there was another girl in Chicago, I believe, that was having about the same thing. So I'm saying, okay, what are we gonna do? We came here because we were giving some hope that here is gonna be easier, faster, or
Right.
whatever. And well, what we are gonna do is we're gonna build a protocol consistent in radiation and chemotherapy. We have no idea what are we going to go into. The purpose of this treatment is going to be to try to reduce the size of his tumor,
Right.
have surgery, and that was it. So we start that tortuous way,
Yeah.
It's very hard. My wife stayed in Miami. I returned to El Salvador. And my daughter at that time was only 6 years old. So and we were lucky because my wife has a relative. that happens that at that time they have a house in Miami, and they offer us their house so we can stay there, so we didn't have to pay hotel or go to
Oh my goodness.
McDonald's, Ronald,
Right,
to
right.
McDonald's, Ronald
Right, the
house.
Ronald McDonald House,
So
yeah.
we have a car. Yeah, correct. So we have that comfort, we have a special place to us. Uh, we buy a car so my wife can go back and forth. That happens for almost 10 months. And eventually the treatment gave results. The tumor, the size of the tumor shrink. And they told us, okay, Paolo is ready for surgery. Uh, we came to the hospital. We give Paolo to the nurses. He was crying,
Yeah,
that all the
of course. It's got
emotion,
to be frightening.
concern. And like 2 hours after the surgery started, the surgeon come outside and what is happening? Well, we have to stop the surgery because it's getting very complicated. We are going to stop the surgery. I recall it was a Thursday, one day of
Mm.
sometime on August or July, Thursday. We are going to stop the surgery because we have to make a map of his liver to make sure what parts are we going to leave in him and
Ah,
what are okay. We said, okay, no problem. So they bring him to intensive care, intubated in his coma state on Thursday. On Monday, they reassume, started the surgery again. Like maybe I don't recall exactly 6 hours after surgery, they end the surgery and Paolo was bring to intensive care. And we live on 41 days of nightmare, you
mm.
know, and little by little he was deteriorating until we couldn't do more about him. The last day that he was alive but in coma was the 1st of September of 1998. He passed away and we couldn't do nothing. On those times I was, I am a believer,
Yeah.
I am not a fanatic. I am Catholic but not fanatic, but I believe that there is something. I was praying, asking why I don't get sick in exchange for him because I am already old. He has the whole life. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. So, okay. So we start living with that pain, which is only the people that has lost a kid knows what it means. It's not the
No.
explanation. Well, eventually, time passed by, and then, we try to return to normal life, which is very difficult on those conditions. Until these days, I think in Paolo every single day of my life.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
so anyway, so that was one of the tragedies that start marking my life. Well, of course, the loss of my mother, eventually the loss of my father-in-law, etc.,
Mm.
etc., etc. But at the end, we closed the operation in El Salvador, and we started, evaluating. My older son lives here in the United States since he was a years with my first wife, and
Okay.
he is a U.S. citizen. So somehow I always have on mind the day something happened here in El Salvador, I don't want to go back to Guatemala, because what I'm
Yeah.
going to do in Guatemala. So maybe I have to go to the States. At least I have that hope because I knew that I have the opportunity to come here documented, no illegal, documented, and
Yes.
be
Yes.
able to switch my status to resident.
Right.
That's
Right.
what happened. So in 2006, I came to live in the States. We were still trying to see, go to Miami or somewhere else, Florida or so. We knew California. We used to come here to San Francisco Bay Area where I live right now. The godfathers of my younger son live here. And we always like this area, it's beautiful. We knew it
Yes.
was expensive, but
Mm.
we didn't think on that. Here is crazy. Here is crazy. Anyway, I decided to come to the States. Of course, the first person I was coming by myself. My wife and my two kids stay in El Salvador. In the meantime, I got established. So when I was hopeless, I said, "Oh my God, in the United States, it's gonna be impossible that one day I will have the opportunity to have another company." I was totally, hopeless. So I start working and trying, to find a way to establish myself, but was super hard. After 20 years of being independent, being my own boss, my wife sometimes tell me, what happened with you is that you like to rule, you like to be the boss. Uh, and maybe she's right, she's right. So it was tough, difficult for me to deal with the type of managers that I had on the jobs I did in that time.
Mm, yeah, I can understand that.
Eventually, so I was suffering. I was suffering. You have no idea how hard that was for me. Anyway, I lost my last job between Christmas and New Year's Eve of 2013. The company I was working at that time, the boss I had was a woman. No offense.
Mm.
This woman was in the military.
Oh,
Mm.
oh,
Okay, number
okay.
one. And from her point of view, she was the best knowledge, etc., etc., etc.
Right.
To describe her, maybe you recall the movie Fatal Attraction with Michael Douglas and
Oh,
Glenn Close.
yes. Yes, yes, I definitely remember that one.
Glenn Close has in that movie has a look that blonde hair, curly hair, right?
Yes, yes.
Well, this woman has the same look as her,
Mm.
but her personality was a combination of a Rambo, Rambo, Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman, and Cruella de Vil.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
She fired me between Christmas and New Year's of 2013.
Wow.
Well, very hard to lose a job in those times. Anyway,
Yes.
I told my wife Sylvia, well, of course I have to look for another job, but I don't know what I'm gonna do because it's hard for me. Well, here you don't have other option. So eventually, I was thinking on those holiday days. And of course, the 1st of January, I started sending resumes here, resumes there, etc., etc., etc. I was not prepared, so I have to pay the rent by the 25th of January.
Mm.
I was not prepared for that, so I started, getting nervous because I started sending resumes. A full job sending resumes, when you
Yeah.
are looking for a
Oh
job,
yes.
and you have to get the first offer that you get because you are
Yeah.
not able to negotiate.
Exactly.
So I started receiving, phone interviews and nothing in firm. On those days, I was looking these cars with a pink mustache. So I started figuring out what was that. So I noticed that there was Uber, this and
Mm.
that. So I said, you know what? I started, doing some search and trying to
Right.
make sure that. So I ended applying for Lyft. I told
Oh.
my wife, I'm going to do this. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So immediately I applied. I went my first day to do my job. I left my home like around 4 p.m. that day. As soon as I get the confirmation, I took my car and I went out. Well, that day I got so excited because I was a big relief. Oh my God, I'm getting good money. I don't have a boss on my neck, and I have flexible hours, and I like to speak to people. I love to listen. When I drive, if I don't have music, it's a torture for me. I love music.
Mm.
That's one of my
Yes.
hobbies. Listen to the music. 60s, 70s, 80s,
Yes.
rock, jazz, soul.
Yeah.
So I love that. I am a baby boomer. I'm 70
Yes.
years old. So that's
Okay.
my music.
Got me by a few
I think
years.
we're about the same. Yeah. So I start, working very happy, et cetera, et cetera. By the time passed by, I was driving only for Lyft. But then I realized, no, I have to do two at the same time, and pick
Mm.
whoever give me. So I start driving also for Uber and Lyft. Like a year later, I have two phones on my car.
Huh.
In one, I was Lyft. In the other one, I have I have Uber.
Uber.
But there,
Yeah.
at that time, there was another very good application called SideCar. I
Mm.
think SideCar was the best one. They were the best ones. So I have a SideCar and Lyft in one phone, and in the other one I have Uber, and the other company was called Solomon. So
Mm.
I was driving. I had my two phones with the four apps open.
Okay.
So the first time I hear a ride request, I accepted, immediately turn off the other three apps.
Right. Right.
80% of the times I was able to do that. The other times, sometimes I get requests at the same time.
Oh
So I
no.
click on both, was looking which one was best,
Right.
and
Who's
I
got the
choose
who
that.
pays the most money? Yeah.
I was making a very good money. It was exhausted, because that interaction of switching this and that,
Yes.
but I was happy. Well, eventually, finally, thanks to Obamacare, I was able to have a insurance, health insurance in 2015.
Okay.
Well, in 2012, I was diagnosed with diabetes. I am diabetic type 2,
Mm. Mm.
and I use insulin since then.
Mm.
The day I was diagnosed of diabetes type 2 was November of 2012. My A1C was 17,
Okay.
and the normal is, no more than 6. So
Oh.
imagine,
Oh.
I was terrible.
Wow.
The doctor told me, Carlos, if you don't start insulin right now, you are going to live just 2 months more. So I started, insulin that I am still using them. Well, I was, driving, always thinking, what else can I do? I don't want to, die driving.
Right.
Besides that, in Latino culture, you don't think of retirement. Most of the
Mm.
people die working
Right.
because the retirements that we have over there are less than peanuts, less than
Right.
peanuts.
Right.
Impossible to live there. Almost like here this time, you get retired and you are not going to, at least in California, you cannot live with what you get from the Social
Yeah. No.
Security.
No.
So most people, ended. So for me, that was never an issue.
Right.
I always knew in my mind that I was going to die driving. I mean, working. Okay.
Working.
Anyway,
Right.
yeah. So always thinking, what else can I do? What else can I do? And before I came to live here, I used to go to Miami, rent a car, and start driving, do my things, especially for businesses and that, or in vacations. And I always were comparing the traffic with our traffic, in Central America. Over there
Right.
is a chaos. Here, oh my God, everybody obeys the traffic laws. It's incredible. Everything is neat, happy. Never ever put attention because I just came to that couple of days and went back
It's
and
funny.
back and forth.
There's a lot of American drivers who would probably be very surprised to hear you
Uh,
describe American drivers as orderly.
thanks to that, I came with an idea. So when I start driving a lot for Lyft, driving 6, 8, 10 hours a day,
Ooh,
you start noticing that here there is a big advantage. Wherever you go, there are signs: one
right.
way, 65 speed limit, illegal U-turn, etc., etc. In our country, that doesn't happen. We don't
Oh.
have traffic signs, so it's more difficult. But
Mm.
here, the only way is you ignore the signs, you ignore
Right.
the traffic laws, and that's the big problem here in the United States.
Yes.
Not to mention the lack of enforcement, and only the police can enforce the traffic laws. And now with technology, some static cameras, like the
Yeah.
red light cameras.
Yes.
I don't know
Yes.
what city did you live at?
I am in New York. I'm in Harlem.
Okay, New York. Okay, so you have a red light cameras
Yes,
over there
and the speed cameras. I've been hit by those
right now.
more than a few
Oh,
times.
okay. You know what I'm talking
Oh
about. You
yes,
you you
I
get the
from
citation.
from
You get the
yes
citation over the mail, right?
yes from painful firsthand experience.
Well, so when I start, seeing, oh my God, where are the cops? Look at this guy. How is he driving? So somehow I don't recall exactly in what moment I came with the idea. But at that time, when you were doing ride share or food delivery, at that time you were already Postmates, Instant Cart, and those
Right,
companies started operating.
DoorDash, that sort of thing. Yeah.
DoorDash, exactly. DoorDash was not yet
Oh right, right, right.
developed,
Didn't
but
exist yet.
yeah, Postmates. So some other companies were trying to offer to drivers a passive income, like for example, putting a sign at the top of your car.
Right, right.
But was ugly. At the end, they were paying you less than crumbs, less than breadcrumbs, peanuts.
Yeah.
There was another company I recall called Cargo. They give you a small box like an armrest. So you put it on your armrest, and inside that thing, there were some treats, candies, bubble gum, etc., that you were able to sell to the riders,
Ah, like a
and then you
concession
were
stand sort of thing.
correct, yeah, and you get paid for that, but at the end, maybe $5 or $10 a month. So was a passive income that really was not an income. Anyway, so when I started thinking how to solve the problem of the traffic enforcement, I came with the idea. What will happen if I have a camera and a sensor in my car? And wherever I go, I can detect violators.
Mm.
Is that possible? I was not sure because I am not that tech savvy. My older son is.
Mm.
So I called him. He lives in Austin, Texas.
Okay.
And I called him, listen, son, do we have technology to do this and that? He told me, of course, we do. In fact, we are already living the future. The technology is there. What we need is ideas how to apply the
Right.
technology.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Okay? Ideas. Okay. I have an idea. And I told him what I was. Yeah, it's possible. Okay. Okay. So I said, okay, very good. So it's a chance there. So I start, trying to put together the pieces of puzzle I have in my head. I tried to write it down.
Yeah.
I couldn't. So my
Hmm.
God, what I'm gonna do? How can I do this? So I start searching on internet. Who can help me for that? So I don't know if you have heard about this company called Invent Help.
No, I've not heard of them. Tell me that.
The TV ads shows a caveman, making a wheel.
Right.
So it's very very nice that. So I said, oh, maybe these guys can help me. So I called them. Listen, guys, I have an idea. I know that we have an idea. We can reach to you and you provide the support. Yeah, 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 we can help you out with that. So they asked me some information. I forwarded to them, and they told me, okay, Carlos, yeah, we are gonna charge you no cheap. I
Yeah.
think I
Right.
recall it was like $17,000. I didn't have
Ooh.
the money. At that time, the pandemic was already on 2020.
Okay. Yeah. The shutdown of the world had
But
just started.
but before that, on 2018, I was telling you that I got my insurance health.
Right.
So I was lucky because at the same time I applied where to go. So I went to Stanford, and
Ah.
Stanford accept the insurance. So I started, trying to put myself in condition, do this, colonoscopies, endoscopies, etc., etc., etc. On 2016, doing a ultrasound of the liver, they discovered a tumor on one of my kidneys. Oh my God. Well, to make that story, I was diagnosed with the renal cancer.
Mm.
And they told me, well, Carlos, we are going to make okay, what are we going to do? Well, we have to remove that tumor. Okay, surgery, another surgery. No, we are going to do a procedure called cryoablation. They
Oh.
put, they put you total sleep, total anesthesia for several hours.
Mm.
But it's not a big aggressive intervention. They just use a laparoscopy, yeah,
Rest. Yes.
and they put these huge needles, pointing where the tumor is.
Right.
Very millimeter, measure,
Yes.
and it takes a while to do that. Once the needles are in position, they send a gas through the needles.
Mm.
When that gas enters in contact with the tissue, it becomes ice. But to
Ah.
some crazy Fahrenheit degrees below zero. So
Right.
that ice healed the tumor, and
Mm.
that's it. And the recovery is a couple of days, and then you go back home. So
Wow.
the procedure was successful, and I said, okay, very good. So after that, on one of the my pathologist, GI doctor, is an Indian doctor, Radhika Kumari, is a she. She told me, Carlos, you have a fatty liver. Okay,
Mm.
yeah, I know that I have a fatty liver, but when you have a fatty liver, you don't feel nothing, you know.
Right. Right.
And I know that it's reversal. I never took care of that.
Right.
So on 2018, when I started thinking on my invention, and the doctor told me one day, okay, Carlos, I have bad news for you. So, oh my God, what happened? Well, you have a condition called NASH.
Mm.
NASH. What the heck is that? Cirrhosis non-alcoholic. No, cirrhosis, she told me. But I have been never a heavy drinker. No, this
Right,
is
like
NASH,
non-alcoholic cirrhosis. Oh my
non-alcoholic.
gosh.
Oh my God. Okay, doctor, what's the cure? There is no cure. What do you mean? I'm going to die? Not precisely you are going to die, but you are going to need a liver transplant.
Ah, wow.
My God, I just came immediately back to my son. When my son had, we were treating my son and my wife several times, asked the doctors, is he eligible for a liver transplant? And unfortunately, Paolo, my son, was never, ever eligible for a liver transplant.
Mm,
So I said, oh my God, if he was, no, I'm not going to make it either. And I thought, okay, what we are going to do is we are going to put you on a waiting list for a liver transplant.
okay.
Okay, doctor, how does it work? Well, there's thousands of people on waiting lists for organ transplants. In the case of the liver, the waiting list works. Either you get a donor, a live donor that is going to give you part of your liver, or you get very, very sick, you reach the top of the waiting list, and you get your liver from a deceased donor.
Right,
Okay,
right.
okay. But I want to warn you, you are going to start getting sicker and sicker and sicker. Okay.
Mm,
So, anyway, with that diagnosis, I didn't stop thinking of my project. So 2018, 2019, 2019, I was able to submit. Well, Invent Health told me, okay, Carlos, this is what we are going to do. The first step is you to submit a patent inquiry.
right.
For that, you need to hire lawyers. We are going to give you a list so you can contact them. And eventually, I got the list. I choose one. I speak to them. Okay, Carlos, yeah, no problem. We can help you with the patent. The first thing that we have to do is we have to do a market research
Right.
to see if your idea is not already patented.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, so time passed by. At the beginning of 2020, exactly when the pandemic started, 2020, right? Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
February. They sent by mail a book like this thick.
Mm,
Carlos, we send you the study of the research that we did, and there are several patents already with a similar idea. And you say, oh my God,
mm,
how come this could happen to me? I
mm.
was totally hopeless, totally hopeless.
Yes. Yes.
I didn't even want to look at the book they sent me.
Hmm.
So I put the book at the side, totally depressed, hopeless.
Wow.
Eventually, like a week later, I said, I want to look at this. And I started, looking at all the patents that were in process of being a patent pending or was already approved. And for my surprise, all those patents were dated before 2012. Okay, 2012.
Hmm.
Uber started in 2012 as a ride-share industry.
Hmm.
And the patents were basically, totally different. So I told the lawyers, listen, I think I have a chance. What do you mean? Well, I told them, they said, all the patents are before 2012. The older one is from 2006, the other 20. But all of them were the rider industry.
Hmm.
So my patent is thinking put cameras and sensors on rideshare drivers and make passive income.
Hmm.
Okay, so let's try. Let's see if we are gonna prepare the patent. Do the diagrams, etc., etc. Submit it to the patent agency. It's gonna take a while for them to accept the application.
Right.
If they receive the application, they are gonna compare what they have on file,
Exactly.
and then if they accept it, you move one step forward. So, okay. So on 2020, based on that, I decided I need a LLC company. I have to have something
Right.
legal, legit. So I established my company and I choose the name of PIFD Technologies LLC, which
Okay.
means Passive Income for Drivers Technologies.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I established the company, opened the bank accounts, etc., etc., and start, waiting for the patent. Eventually, the patent was approved November last year. So from 2020, almost years, of waiting, but was
Yes.
approved at the end. So, okay, so I start, trying to learn about what was the process here of open a company. Totally different than my first experience. Here, the name is start up, your pitch deck, your business plan. Oh
Yes.
my God, a lot of craziness.
Yes.
So since I didn't knew nothing of that, I started learning, searching internet, asking people, etc., etc. Time passed by, and 2022, uh, January 2022. Well, between that and 2022, I start having these episodes called hepatic encephalopathy.
Ooh.
Basically, what happened is when the ammonia that your liver cannot process and the ammonia gets out of the body when you defecate. That's
Ooh.
the only way that you, me, everybody
Yes.
to get rid of the ammonia. If you don't get rid of the ammonia go to your brain and
Oh.
you get bananas. You enter in this state of confusion,
Mm.
desorientation. I had, I think, between 2018 and 2022, I have, including the last one, 6 episodes of that. The 6 times I entered in coma.
Oh
The
my gosh.
paramedics had to come home, emergency, emergency room, intensive care, intubated for a couple of weeks until
Ooh.
recovering and coming back home. And use a medication, to control that. You have to drink this medication that puts you on diarrhea 24 hours a day.
Wow.
It's the only way, to keep your
Whew.
intestines clean
Right. You
and
gotta.
get rid
Yeah.
of the ammonia. Okay.
Can't let it build up. Yeah.
Was horrible, horrible. But anyway, I had to deal with that. Eventually, in January 2022, I got sick with COVID. I didn't have any symptom, fever or cough,
Right.
but it triggered another episode of hepatic encephalopathy. I was
Uh.
rushed to the hospital, etc., etc. Well, those days, visits were not allowed at the hospital,
Right. Right. Of course.
So I was on the ER. I don't recall nothing of this. I was told you I was on the ER, then intensive care. I recall, when you are intubated, sometimes
Yes.
you feel, you don't
Right.
know exactly what is going on, but you feel that you can talk,
Right.
horrible.
Right.
So eventually, when I was already on my normal room, it was very weird. I couldn't understand what was going on because, only one nurse at the time. I couldn't speak to my wife. And then I learned that, okay, I am still with testing COVID and I was already recording. I could talk to my wife over the phone. So in one of the visits of Dr. Kumari, I thought, okay, Dr. Kumari, I'm already getting well. When I'm going home, oh, Carlos, very sorry.
Oh.
I'm going to keep you in the hospital because you need a liver right away.
Oh my gosh.
Otherwise, you are going to die.
Wow.
That was January 2022. In September 2023, I have the only niece I have in Guatemala, the daughter of my sister, told me, Uncle, I want to give you your liver donor. I am willing to give part of my liver so you can get your transplant. And that's and that. I said, okay. So we did the study. Thank God we were not compatible. It was a relief for me,
Yeah.
Concerned
Yeah.
because I was getting sick, but at the other time, a relief.
Yeah.
My daughter, in November of that same year, told me, Dad, I want to be your donor. So, my God. It was a mix of,
Yes. Yes. I can
happiness,
imagine.
concern. It's okay because I knew that if I didn't get a liver, I was going to die.
Yeah.
So we did the study and we were compatible.
Mm.
But thanks God, the doctor said, Paola, your daughter is compatible with you, but there is an issue. Her liver is too small and it's going to be too dangerous, too risky
Yes.
for her
Right.
to do
Right.
that. I
Right.
feel a relief. Oh
Right.
my God, because you have no idea I was excited, but with a big concern. What happened if something was wrong? I was not
Yes.
prepared
Yes.
for that.
And not to
So,
mention, I'm sure you were probably thinking
uh,
of Paolo.
So yeah, so
Yeah.
I have no words to tell my wife and to tell my daughter thanks,
Yeah.
because when you do something like that, it's just amazing. Still, many people do they donate one kidney or part of their
Yes.
liver,
I have a colleague that did that. She donated a kidney for someone a few years ago.
Okay, yeah. And so I know cases of people that just because they are good persons, they say I have two kidneys, I just need one.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was already. So the doctor told me, no, Carlos, we are going to keep you here. You already reached the top of the waiting list. It's a
Mm.
matter of waiting for a matching liver, and you get your transplant. I said, okay. Stanford has a beautiful hospital,
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
private rooms, a big TV screen, flat TV screen,
Huh.
and I was on the fourth floor on a corner.
Mm.
There are no walls. The walls are a big window.
Wow.
Amazing window. So I have a
Okay.
beautiful view of Stanford, and they bring you a menu to choose your food, etc., etc. So in the last week of January, ring the phone bell. Hello, Carlos. Don't drink, don't eat nothing. We have a liver for you. Okay.
Wow.
Uh,
Wow.
at that time, when I received that phone call, I got paralyzed. Mix of excitement, concern. I immediately called my wife and telling him, crying, both of us crying. I'm gonna have my liver. Okay, but she couldn't come to the hospital because there was the pandemic,
Oh, right.
So
Right.
so they prepare me. They bring me to the OR operating room. When they bring the bed to the operating room, I got, oh my god, it was like entering cockpit of a spaceship. You see those hundreds of monitors, machines,
Yes.
a big room, and a lot of people inside the room. So, okay. So my surgeon, Dr. Martin Melcher, excellent doctor. I will never have a words for him to express my gratitude. Okay, Carlos, we are ready. We are gonna do just one last step. We are gonna test if you are still positive or negative with COVID. Say okay. So while waiting there, say, doctor, it's an amazing. Yeah, we have here the state of the art technology. Don't worry about
Right.
it. Doctor Merchant, excuse me, who are all these people here? And there were like 20, 25 people, Oh, Carlos, all these people is the team that is gonna save your life. So
Wow.
okay. So I was like a relief, looking all the machinery, equipment they have there, and all the people. So okay, I'm gonna be okay. So they did the test, and I tested positive.
Mm.
Carlos, fortunately, we have to stop the surgery. We are gonna give the liver to somebody else because you cannot have the surgery because you are gonna die for sure. Okay. So I'm very sorry. So they bring me back to my room. Say, okay, and they explain me. Sometimes it happens to attempts, and the second time it happens. Okay, but how long is gonna
Right.
take to get another liver, match liver? A week later, ring. Carlos, don't eat the same thing. Oh my God! Immediately call my
Wow.
wife and did the same process. I was bring to the OR. Carlos, we are gonna do the COVID test to make sure.
Right.
Tested positive again.
Come
I couldn't believe it.
on. Come on.
Carlos, I'm sorry. Second liver, we have to give it to somebody. Say, no, doctor, it's okay. I understand. Was something already remarkable, because two attempts, no
Yes.
success. Okay, say, okay. Next week, 14th of February, 2022. Ring, Carlos. So I come to the OR again, call my wife. Okay, this time they put me on the table, COVID. Carlos, you are negative. We are gonna proceed.
Whew.
I closed my eyes. I didn't feel nothing. So when I opened my eyes again, I knew that I was intubated, but I couldn't, match what was
Right.
going on. When they retired the tube, you
Oh,
have your
yes.
throat. I
Yes. I
opened
had
the
I had
eyes.
my gallbladder taken out last year, so I know.
Okay, so you know.
Yeah.
So the first person I saw in front of me was my wife. How you feel? She told me. what happened to my transplant? It happens 4 days ago.
Oh.
So I'm alive. Yes, you made it. Oh my God. Okay. So I survived the liver transplant. But
Yes.
unfortunately, my kidneys were damaged,
Oh
So
no.
immediately I was placed on dialysis with a
Wow.
catheter here. And, so I left the hospital in April, January to April. I was there. The recovery was painful, Oh my God, I
Yes.
couldn't stand up. Even apart in a third floor, there is no elevator.
Mm.
So the day I came to the hospital, well, my wife was taking care of me, helping me to take a shower. Even when going to the toilet, we were not prepared, so I didn't know that I need a high chair, to sit on the toilet.
Yeah. Yeah.
He has to go into the bathroom, pull me forward, to I can stand
Yes.
up. I was totally,
Wow.
handicapped. But eventually, I'm going to dialysis 3, 4 times a week. Okay, Carlos, the doctor told me, you are going to be on temporary dialysis, hoping that your kidneys are going to return to normal. So, okay. And that was April, March, April, May, June, July. Doctors, Carlos, your kidneys are not working.
Mm.
So we are going to have to place you on a kidney transplant waiting list. Another transplant? Yes. But you know what? It's good. I learned when going to dialysis that the kidney transplant waiting list is different. That works if you get a donor, live or deceased, I mean, a live donor, or if you reach the seniority of the waiting list.
Right.
I met people going to dialysis that were for 8, 7 years waiting for a kidney,
Wow.
Some of them died on that process. I saw some of them. What happened to Johnny? Oh, he died. He was waiting for
Yeah.
the kidney for 5 years. Oh my God, I'm not gonna be able with the liver. Forget it. I'm not gonna make it this time. So, doctors, what I'm gonna do I'm not gonna wait 5 years. Don't worry, because you have a liver transplant, you are already on the priority top of the waiting list.
Whoa.
Okay, that
Okay.
was at the end of July.
Okay.
All we have to do is you have to keep going to dialysis until we get a kidney matching you. And if that happens, we'll contact you immediately. So by the 18th of September, I believe at night, 10 p.m., ring, ring, ring. Hello, Carlos, we have a kidney for you. Come immediately to the hospital. Oh
Wow.
my God. So we
Wow.
went to the hospital. This time, no delays. I got my kidney. And until that day, I realized that when you have a kidney transplant, you start living with three kidneys. Your new one for your body, and the two ones that are just live there. I
Oh.
never expect. Many people don't know that. Many people think that they took
They
off
take
your
the
kidneys. No,
right.
no, they leave it there. So I am now with three kidneys. Of course, of the
Right.
three kidneys, only the donated one
One
is the one
is
working.
is
The
functioning.
other two, the other two are just there watching. The doctor says.
Just hanging out.
Yeah, let's say it that way. Okay. So uh, I left the hospital a month later in October 2022. And of course, intensive monitoring, medical monitoring, labs every week, a lot of pills, including the immunosuppressors that help
Right.
you to
Right.
avoid the rejection of your organs.
Right. Because it's somebody
So,
else's organs in your body, basically.
correct, yeah. So you have to take immunosuppressors until the day you die. The only one of the worst parts is that those immunosuppressors put your body defense
Yes.
autoimmune system very low. So you are very susceptible to get sick,
Yes. Yes. Wow.
Well, in December 2022, PET scans, MRI, CT scans, they discovered a tumor on my adrenal gland. Carlos, you have a cancer in the adrenal gland. This is a metastasis of your renal cancer of 2016 that because of the condition you are having with your health, it
Yeah.
came back. What are we going to do, doctor? We are going to treat it with radiation. Since December 2022 until November last year, I already have 6 metastases. Adrenal gland, right lung, left lung, the brain,
Whoa.
on the femur, and on the chest. On the airways was my last treatment last November, 20 days of radiation. The 6 times I had been treated with radiation, and as of today, I am cancer free.
Wow.
But of course, I still keep myself in a very strict medical control. Appointments like crazy,
Yes, yes, yes.
labs every 2 weeks, PET scans, CT scans, and MRIs 3 months. Because of that medical control, I have been able to discover all the metastases of the cancer on time, early stage. So
Wow.
the treatments
Yes.
have been successful. You know, Cancer, the problem is that many people notice that they have cancer when it's too late.
It's exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, it's so fascinating. Well,
So
Carlos,
basically,
I
yeah.
want to interject here. I usually like to keep the podcast down to about an hour. First of all, this has just been a fascinating story. I mean, two people volunteer, relatives of yours, to give you part of their liver, which is like sort of like we have this thing we say, yay, boo. It's like, yeah, the good news is somebody wants to give you the liver, yay. The bad news is it could probably kill them, boo. And twice with the liver, sorry you got COVID, got to give that liver away. Third time's the charm. You get the kidney, then metastases here, there, and everywhere, and we haven't even gotten to PIFD. So we have to schedule another conversation to get to your invention and your business and all of this. But this is fascinating. As I said, I read the little bit of information that you provided, and I knew that this was going to be so fascinating. That's why I didn't interrupt you. I knew this was just going to be such amazing stuff, because at so many points in this narrative, it sounds like, well, crap, that's the end. It's over. Game over. And let me ask you this: how in the world, in the midst of all of this, and the heartbreaking, with, of course, I'm sure, the thoughts of your young son coming up with each of these medical challenges, how do you manage to maintain such a positive attitude?
Well, um, first, I think it's my personality. I am an easy, outgoing person, and I didn't have time to get depressed.
Oh,
I am
okay.
not the side to get depressed because I feel that I have a purpose. With this thing, many of my friends, family, Carlos, you have a purpose. What
Hmm.
purpose could I have? I'm a simple guy. I don't have any extraordinary. But how come I am still alive? So you think about
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
When my son got sick, I make a promise. And I still hope. I was hoping to have a business, a good business that can provide me with the financial back to for fee to accomplish that promise that I made when he was sick.
Right.
So I think the idea that I have something else to do keep me alive.
Ah.
One of my doctors was telling me, Carlos, you make our job very easy. How come, doctor? The kidney transplant doctor. Because when you came here, first, always happy. You know
Hmm.
what's going on with you. You know all your medications, what are they for, how many, etc., or the doses, etc. You never miss an appointment. You do all your exams. So for us, it's very easy. Most of the patients, we have to deal first with their depression, and they
Right.
don't want to do this, they don't want to do that. But you is easy to treat with you. Well, I think that I don't want to die yet. So I
Wow.
want to advocate for my health as much as I can. My
Yes.
wife keeps telling me off because she says, you don't make diet and you don't do exercises. What the heck? Yeah, what happened is that at 7 years old, change diet is very difficult.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I think that commitment that I have something else to do keep me
Right.
alive.
Right. You got something to wake up each day to accomplish. You're not just here watching the sand drip through the hourglass. And
Correct.
that is so very inspiring, because there are people, let's be honest, it's not a comparison, but there are people who face far less than what you're dealing with, and they can't keep their head up, they can't maintain, they can't have positive spirits. I myself personally experienced a depression that took me off the grid for 3 years after September 11th. I was 5 blocks away when the North Tower collapsed. I lost a godson. I had a personal tragedy in the midst of all of that, and it just wrecked me. I was not dying of several cancers. I did not need organs transplanted. I did not have 7 metastases. Okay, and I was literally, if it wasn't for living in my sister's basement, I wouldn't be here to talk to you about it. So I just find it personally, if no one else is inspired by hearing your story, I am immensely inspired by it. And I just want to say thank you for taking the time. And please go back to that forum, schedule another conversation. We must have a part 2 of this conversation.
Of course.
Sometimes I say people, listen, no, we've got to finish this story because I want to hear about PIFD. We're in the middle. You know, you've got the patent pending. You've got the lawyers. You formed the LLC. And I want to hear what comes next.
Of course, yeah, because it's a very important part to accomplish what I have pending. Thank you very much, Cornel, for your time.
Yes.
And I hope that what I just tell you, and hoping that people is going to listen, will get some type of inspiration that no matter what, you never have to stop. You have to keep pushing forward, until the end.
Okay, so stick around for a bit. I'm just going to close out this episode.
Yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you're as inspired as I am. And remember, failure, as we say here, is an acronym that stands for First Attempts in Learning Using Real Experience. And boy, oh boy, if there's anybody on this planet that's got some real experience that they've learned from, it is Carlos. You know, 1 step up and 3 steps back. He never stopped smiling. He never gave up. And remember, folks, as I like to say, life is not a competition. It's a race that you run only with yourself. The only person you have to compare yourself to is who you were yesterday. And remember, never quit. Keep running. And I will see you next time on the next episode of the Failure Guide Podcast.